Hey, what's up YouTube? You're with gothatfunk, and this is a video response to my friend Asymmetrical Warfare and his two recent videos. The first one was called Upside Down and on Drugs, and the second one was called To the Generally Retarded, I believe. How you doing, Deryk? Before I address you directly, I just want to say to the rest of my audience, me and Deryk go way back, okay? And although this is probably going to turn into a relatively stern admonishment, Deryk and I have always had each other's back here on YouTube, and as far as I'm concerned, I hope that continues. However, I gotta say what I gotta say, because Deryk, I couldn't help but take your video a little bit personally. Not that you aimed it at me, but you did apparently aim at all mankind, and so fine. In your second video, To the Generally Retarded, where you arrogantly assume some intellectual superiority over every single person watching you, you said that anybody who assumed that your first video having the statement, men are addicted to sex, anybody who thought you meant all men was being intellectually lazy or dishonest. All right, Deryk, let's talk about that for a second, because that's important to get out of the way. Yes, of course, anyone who makes any generalization about any group is usually not implying every single member of the group is guilty of whatever charge being laid at the group. However, in your video, Deryk, you said men are addicted to sex, and by men I include myself in that. Those were your words. Now, typically when a person generalizes and then throws themselves into that generalization, they're usually implying that no one should consider themselves exempt from the charge because, hey, look, this applies to me too. That's usually the implication of that kind of statement. So I think, quite frankly, Deryk, anybody watching your video could have fairly assumed that you were saying men, all men, are addicted to sex. And I think your little prevarication in your second video was a chicken shit move. And to assume such a fucking intellectually arrogant posture like that, I don't actually know what you're trying to prove these days, Deryk, to be honest. But that's neither here nor there. I don't want to make this personal. Anyway, back to the argument. In your original video, you said men are addicted to sex and women are not. Deryk, I disagree. I think men and women express their sexuality in different ways that are distinct from one another. Yeah, of course. But I don't think that you can say that we're addicted to sex. Calling a biological imperative an addiction, I think is a dangerous course in general. Even to make the comparison doesn't seem right or appropriate to me. It seems to misrepresent and misunderstand both addiction and biological imperatives. So, be that as it may, hang on, I got a ladybug on my keyboard. Go on. There we go. Anyway, I didn't want to get underneath. Right, where I was saying, the biological imperative to reproduce is a survival of the species imperative. It's not the same kind of imperative of survival that eating and drinking is, because eating and drinking, if you don't do, you'll perish. Whereas if you don't satisfy the urges of your sex drive, you or bloodline will perish. But that's not you perishing. So it's not necessarily your survival. So the strength of the drive isn't the same as it is to eat. Because you're quite right in the sense that if it was, people might do desperate things if they couldn't satisfy it. Because people who are starving, if possible, they will steal food off of like a fruit cart or out of a shop. Or if they have to, they'll fucking kill an animal. Hell, if people get desperate enough, they'll eat each other. As far as satisfying the biological imperative is concerned, are men addicted to sex? I don't think so. I think human beings in general are by nature pleasure-seeking creatures. We seek to expand our consciousness in whatever pleasurable way we can. You know, we want our food to taste good. We want things to look nice. We want to be confronted with things that smell nice instead of things that smell bad, etc., etc. You know, we seek relationships that fulfill us on whatever emotional and intellectual needs we have as individuals. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter who you got with. You could just pick a name out of the phone book and put your finger down and go, okay, I'll marry her. You know, we seek to satisfy ourselves. We seek to satisfy our individual needs as well as our general needs as human beings. We seek to satisfy our senses every moment we can. You know, you want everything you put in your mouth to taste good. And when it does, you typically enjoy it inside, you know, and seeking to enjoy life is a normal, natural thing. It's a good thing, surely. And as far as sex is concerned, your video heavily implies, in my opinion, that sex is more or less reduced to the biological function of penetration and ejaculation, which is an incredibly masculine way of looking at sex, frankly. And in my opinion, also, and I'm sorry to say this, incredibly naive. For fuck's sake. You're such a smart person, Deryk, and frankly, I think if you had more experience, you wouldn't have this kind of point of view. There's so much more to sex than penetration and ejaculation that it's an insult to sex, and it's an insult to me personally, that you seem to think that all we want to do is stick it in and come. Holy fuck. I think that says more about your mentality, Deryk, than anything else. And that I take no pleasure in saying that. And I would agree with anybody that shared that point of view of yours. I think that's twisted. All right? There's so much more to sex. There's different levels of sex, different kinds of sex that people can get into with each other. And it's not always about penetration and ejaculation. And the whole thing, man, I mean, pleasure is what it's about. It's about pleasure. If we're addicted to anything, it's pleasure, and we seek it in every way we can. Now, had your video said, instead of men being addicted to sex, had your video said men are addicted to ejaculating, I might have agreed with you. Because typically men are wankers. We masturbate. In general, half the fucking population of the earth spends most of their adult life masturbating more often than not. It's safe to say that. But in the comment section to Angelic's video, you said that you didn't think masturbation was a satisfactory substitute to satisfy the addiction or something like that. I can't remember your exact words, and I'm in a cornfield, so I can't call it up. But I disagree. I think that it's demonstrable that the vast majority of men would much sooner masturbate than rape someone, Deryk. So I don't think your point of view holds any water whatsoever. And you said in your video that men are addicted to sex, and that's a fact. Well, Deryk, if it's a fact, where's the data? Or did you just pull that as an opinion right out of your ass? Oh, that's right, you said that's a fact. Well, at least it is to me. Oh, yeah. Do I have to say anything about that, really? You'd rip someone to shreds for saying shit like that. That's stupid, Deryk. You're way too smart to be pulling shit like that out. I found your video disappointing, and frankly, as one of your biggest fans, I think, I found it embarrassing to watch. Because I do think that it was beneath you. You need to evaluate these points of view a little bit more carefully and thoughtfully, in my opinion. And stop equating a biological imperative with an addiction. You can compare them if you want to, but to equate them is completely unfounded. If you want to show me data to the contrary, fair enough, go for it. But otherwise, it's an unsubstantiated opinion, and that's worth the paper it's written on. All right, this got that funk. I think I'll have to end it there. Until next time, guys, may all your ups and downs be ups.